Awesome. Hi, everyone. We are just getting started, and this is my first Instagram Live, so please be patient. But Rachel, you've done an Instagram Live before, right?
Yeah, I've never hosted one myself, but I've been in two or three now,
Okay.
through like the Fast and Off Yarn Alongs, and I went live with Busy Peach once when we collaborated.
Oh, awesome. I love that yarn.
It's so pretty.
It is very pretty. So unique too. I love it.
My dog is sitting next to me looking out the window, so I apologize in advance if he starts barking.
No, mine probably will as well at some point. I'm like hiding from my dogs.
So
But yeah. Oh, always on alert. Or
oh,
she.
yeah.
What, what's your dog's name?
His name is Copper.
Aw, that's such a sweet name.
Yeah. He had
I,
it when we rescued him, and we thought it was perfect, so we just kept it.
aw, that's nice when the names work out like that when you get a rescue dog. I, um, not as far along on my shawl as I thought I would be at this point. I hope to be, since this is like the halfway point, I hope to
Mhm.
be halfway done, but I'm not quite halfway. So I got some progress to do to work on, but um, it's fun. I really enjoy seeing everybody's shawls and stuff.
Yeah, it's been awesome. A
I
lot of
can't believe
people.
there's some people who are done already. That's
Right?
amazing.
They work so
I
fast. And
know.
somebody's making two and has already finished one. And I'm like, how do your fingers move that fast?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Especially with knitting. Because I mean, I've been crocheting since I was a kid, and I've only been knitting for a little over a year now. And so I'm a very slow knitter. So
I
I,
definitely think crochet is faster.
yeah.
And I've been doing them both for about the same amount of time.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll give some people a few more minutes to get to join in. And let me see. Okay, it's 11:03. Okay. Awesome. More people are joining. That's great. Thank you guys for joining us. We're just getting started here, trying to find a comfy spot for my I'm working on my shawl. I don't know if you guys can see it because my screen is split, so it I look like I'm a newscaster right now in front of a big thing of yarn.
Yeah, we both do. I also am working on mine.
Yeah. Uh, uh, man. And you're using alpaca yarn for yours, right?
I am. I'm using Knit Pix's Alpaca Cloud Base.
Oh, yeah. Alpaca is my favorite fiber to work with. I absolutely love working with alpaca.
It is so soft and cozy and warm.
Yes, yeah. And I like working with wool, but it can't be the because I'm autistic, so I have like sensory sensitivities, so I can't work with all wool, like the really I think they call it like toothy
Yeah,
yarn, like the rougher. I can't
like
uh
a Highland wool is super rough.
yes, yeah. I mean, that stuff will last for an eternity, but I just can't work I can't work with it,
Very
much less
good.
wear it. So I'm very particular about the what I work with. So let's see. Awesome. Um, well, do you want to go ahead and get started? Awesome. I'll just so I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Olivia or Liv. I answer to both. Um, Liv Scott of Neuro Stitches. I run an online community through Discord called Neuro Stitches. That is like a peer support online community for neurodivergent folks, and we talk about everything fiber arts and neurodiversity. So we have like peer support groups, stitch nights, all of that good stuff. So I run that, and then I'm also a crochet pattern designer. I'm a newer one, but yeah, that's what I'm also an attorney, but I'm taking some time away from law. And I'm just really happy to be doing and partnering with Rachel for the Unfree Make Along. So I really love Rachel idea behind this. It's great, and I'm so happy that I could contribute to it as well.
Yeah, same. I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Rachel, or any variety or shortening you wish to do with Rachel. I've gone by Ray, Rach, Chell, all sorts of fun things. Also known as Stitches and String Theory. I am a knitwear designer and a cross-stitch designer, and in Meat Space, I am a physicist and data scientist. But yeah, I had the idea of this shawl, based upon this like Audre Lorde quote for a long time, just started kicking around. But all of my other knitting patterns are based on some sort of physics concept, from my work background. And I didn't really know if I felt like branching out into politics with my designs. And then the US election happened and the world is on fire. And I was like, all right, I think I can help create some community in a time where we really need to be connecting. And I think I can probably raise some money for charity. And I have a research background. I'm very good at researching and I am okay at writing. So I'm going to sort of put all this together. I started a blog. I wrote up this pattern. I researched some charities and picked out a couple that I liked, and then picked one for this make along, and sort of brought it all together and said, all right, let's find some people who are like-minded. Let's have some fun. Let's raise some money for charity. Let's learn some things. And I think it's going really well. I've been extremely happy with it.
Yeah, and this is my first time being like a co-host of a make along or a knit along. I've never done one before, so it's been really great so far. There's something really special about seeing in real time people making something that you thought of in your head. That's such a cool feeling, and I absolutely love the fact that we're all coming together and creating something together while also learning some stuff about like feminism and intersectionality and how can we also be better allies and stuff like that. So I absolutely jumped on board when Rachel came up with this idea and posted about it. I was like, hey, do you need a crochet version? I would love to make the crochet version. So it's been really great working with Rachel, and um, it's just been really awesome to see people sharing their makes and everything. So it's been great so far.
Yeah, this is also my first time hosting a make along. Sort of the closest thing I've done is I run test knits for all of my patterns before I release them for sale.
Yeah.
But this is so much bigger.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Morning, Sun Stitches.
Oh, good morning. Oh, awesome. Got some neuro neurostitchers in here, so that's always good to see.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that I find that's really cool is getting to learn more about feminism, white feminism, and how it's just such an important topic of including all aspects and the framework of intersectionality. It's come up for me a few times, being an autistic ADHD person, and some people just don't think about the disabled community when doing initiatives like this and stuff. So it's just really great to be able to see that through the lens of inclusion and stuff. And I did just want to share like a really quick thing. So if anyone has not been following our feed on Blue Sky, it's been really great. It's so awesome because you can see everybody's comments and everybody's pictures like all in one spot. It's awesome. I love that. And I posted something and I forgot to put alternate alt text on the post, and someone called me out for it, and I didn't realize it until the person put the comment there, and I was like, oh shoot, let me try and edit it. And for some reason you can't like edit the post. I just like redid the post and posted it again. But it brought up a really good point for me of this was an example of me not thinking and not being inclusive. And I thought to myself, well, how do I want people to respond when I approach them with questions and concerns about inclusion and accessibility? And I thought about it for a second and I was like, honestly, all I would want is someone to acknowledge that, hey, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. Let me fix this. Mm-hmm. Or like, how can I better help you with this? And I've been in situations like that before where I've approached someone with accessibility concerns, and instead of acknowledging, even if they don't agree with me, like the acknowledgement goes so far and in making you feel heard and seen. And I feel like in this kind of culture and the way our country is right now, like you said, the country's on fire. The default response is to get defensive.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've experienced in the past, of like this defensiveness and like default to attack and stuff like that. And so I responded to that person and I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. Let me correct it. And they responded back and they were like, thank you so much for such a nice response or something. And I was like, well, I just thought for a second, how have I wanted people to react when I brought to them questions of inclusion and concerns about accessibility? And that's exactly how I would have wanted that person to respond. And I think we need to be better about that in terms of getting defensive, especially for like white feminism and stuff. I think that's a really good, it's not just with disability and stuff, it's race, gender, sexual orientation and stuff. I think we have this initial instinct to be defensive. And it would just be great if we could take a second in your feelings and even acknowledge that you're being defensive. Like, yeah, I'm being defensive, but let me take a beat. But anyways, that was just like something that happened that I wanted to share. And it was just an example of how even someone like me, who I am disabled, I'm an autistic ADHDer, I advocate for disability, accessibility and stuff. And even I I'm not perfect all the time. I'm going to miss the mark and mess up on inclusion. And we just have to be patient and give people grace to correct it and apologize, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before I respond, I do just want to mention, if you want, there is a setting on Blue Sky that requires you to put alt text before you post.
Oh my
So
gosh,
I have that on because I would forget every time.
Yeah.
But it'll just be like alt text missing when you try and hit it. So that's
Oh my
cool.
gosh.
But yeah, it's like I mentioned in like my intro of the blog, I'm not perfect, and I'm actually going to write a post about that after the make along, because in the book White Feminism, Cal Beck talks about how she does all this like diversity and inclusion work with companies, and she'll be like, all right, so why don't you have a maternity leave program, for example, which is what today's post is going to be on. And the response from a lot of people is like, oh, well, we're not perfect. And it's like, okay, none of us are ever going to be perfect. We are not going for perfection, but we are going for growth. Like you said, getting defensive is, I think, very, very common. I definitely see that in myself. I am white, I'm able-bodied, I'm cishet. I am currently middle class, even though that wasn't always the case in my life. And it's like, somebody calling you out does not mean that you're a bad person. It does not mean that you are trying to hurt people, but it does mean that you need to take a moment and think about what they said, and think about sort of like what happened to cause you to default to that. So something that I've been trying to do in my alt text is whenever I am sort of the focus, if it's like a picture of me wearing one of my garments, I say a white woman, because I've been taught that right now white is the default, and anything not white is seen as like an aberration or a deviation from the norm, and that's not great. So just like I was told, just the simple act of saying a white woman when you are posting your alt text can help break down that default just a little bit. Like, the more people who do that, the more it breaks down. The same thing with like, I'm cisgender, but I have my pronouns everywhere, even though like I present as female. I actually used to be misgendered a lot as a kid, but that's not a thing I have to deal with anymore. But I still sign my emails off with she, her, just to like break the default just a little bit.
Yep.
Because that's something so huge. If you've got 100 people doing that, you break down that default just a little bit more. And yeah, I think a lot of growth is just sort of examining what are the defaults in our brains, who are we missing when we just follow those defaults without thinking about it, and then how can we sort of reframe our thoughts to try and include more people. Things like, do you have a quiet room for people who are getting overstimulated? Do you have wheelchair accessibility? Do you have sign language interpreters? Is some point you're making only applicable to like cisgender heterosexual couples? That might be fine. That might be the point you're trying to make, but you should sort of acknowledge like, oh, hey, this is, for a pretty specific subset of the audience right now. And I would love to hear thoughts from people who don't fit into that specific subset, so we can see if, maybe this is a broader topic than I think it is.
Yep. Absolutely. So, and for those who aren't sure, what would you, if you could summarize intersectionality, how would you describe that to someone who's new to that term?
Yeah, so you think of intersection as, for example, like roads, two roads coming together. Oh my gosh, copper. So intersectionality is like two identities coming together. So, we said we're white women. So that is one identity. And you have said that you are sort of disabled and neurodivergent. So that is another identity. And the place where your womanhood, your femininity, and your disability come together and sort of amplify any difficulty in your life is intersectionality. And some people only have one identity that is, really defining how society sees them. Some people have many. And it's just like, I posted about voting rights last week, and a big thing that, I had heard that the women's suffrage movement in the US was very white centric.
Yeah.
And that is sort of an example of not being intersectional, where the women were being oppressed. They did not have the right to vote, but Black people were also being oppressed with all of these laws that, even though, Black men supposedly had the right to vote, they were really not being given that right. They were not being able to exercise that right. So then Black women were at the intersection of both, their femininity preventing them from voting at all, and then even once women got the vote, their skin color was just an impossible hurdle for them.
Right.
So it's like, when we want to be activists, we need to sort of step back and think, what are the identities that I am not thinking about, and how could this affect the thing that I'm trying to do, and how can I sort of expand my thoughts to include that?
Absolutely. And also making room for others at the table. And acknowledging that sometimes, hey, I'm not the best voice for this, but this other person is. So I'm going to help them. I'm going to lend, my platform or my stage to this person, because they have a different experience than I, that is completely different, and something that wouldn't even enter my brain as an issue. So yeah, that's a really good way to put that. And in terms of like white feminism, if someone was like, well, what is that? How would you describe that?
Yeah, so that is sort of a shorthand of feminism that is only concerned with a very specific set of women, namely women who are white, cisgender, heterosexual, or at least passing on both of those,
Yep.
able-bodied, upper to middle class. I'm sure I can think of others, ostensibly attractive, given, current societal norms, and sort of how focusing on the problems that those women face are leaving out so many other people.
Yep, absolutely.
Today's post, I mentioned, is going to be on maternity leave, and sort of a really good example of how, like, maternity leave is a great thing that we should be fighting for, but it can't be our end goal, because that leaves out a lot of women who need a lot more support than maternity leave. If you are lower class, you probably can't afford childcare. We need a better childcare program in the US. What else is in that post? Sorry, my brain.
Well, I was just off the top of my head too, like maternity grief leave too. Like, there are several women, myself included, who have experienced pregnancy loss. And so having allowing maternity leave to be part of that, like, grief process would be a massive help. And see, that's the thing, is if the boards are all made up of men, if the leadership of the organization is just made up of men, they're not going to think about that. That's why it's so important to have women in these places and to make space for women, because they it's not something that they really experience, or if they have a different experience. Like, continuing with the pregnancy loss example, of course the fathers experience grief, and but it's a different grief than what women go through, in addition to the physical problems and changes that they go through. So it's, even if they have experienced pregnancy loss as fathers, they're not going to experience it the same way and understand what a pregnant woman would even need. So yeah.
And then another thing is, family leave. If you are trying to take care of a relative who, you did not just give birth to, if you are, the non-pregnant partner, whether you're in a lesbian relationship or you're in a man in a heterosexual relationship, being able to take time off to care for the person who is pregnant, to help raise the child.
Exactly.
If you're adopting, all of these things, anytime we're thinking about maternity leave, we need to be thinking about all of the other people in our lives that we might need to take time off to take care of. Even with children, if they're older and they get sick, and you need to be able to take time off to, just sit at home and comfort them while they feel like crap.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, I was counting. I was doing one of the chains. Yeah, that is so important. And the childcare and maternity leave discussion go hand in hand. I mean, if there is paid maternity leave, that helps a woman out in a pinch, but there's no long-term solution if they can't afford childcare. And so it's just right back at the same place.
Yeah. And childcare is so expensive in the US.
Oh man. Yeah.
And it seems like the providers, the people actually working, never get paid well. So I don't know where all that money's going. I assume to the CEOs.
Yeah. Oh man. But so let's see. Let me just check and see if there's any questions. Okay, there's no questions yet. So if anyone does have any questions about the make along, kind of what we're talking about, or if you have specific questions about our patterns, like if you're having a hard time with a specific row or something, you can go ahead and pop those questions down. I'll try and keep an eye on it and answer any questions you guys may have.
Yeah, so tell me about the ladder stitch that you're doing in your pattern, because I haven't done that one before.
Yeah, so so here, let me show it too. This is what's called the Jacob's ladder stitch, and it's funny because you can see I've started to connect them. I can't wait. So basically what this stitch is you're creating rows of double crochet, and then at the same stitch, the way that I have my pattern set up, you create a loop, and you leave that loop there. Like, if you were doing this textbook, you would just leave the loops undone like they are here. And then at the very end, you're going to connect them like you see here. And then you anchor the last loop, which will hold down all of these. So it's like a domino kind of effect. And I loved that they actually interlocked, because that's what I was going for when I was trying to design the crochet part of this. I wanted them to actually be like chain links and actually connect together. And so my first iteration of the pattern didn't have that, and I was like, it looked cool, but I just wanted that, because to me, like what this make along represents.
Yeah.
Like, we're coming together, we're stronger together and stuff. And so so it's called the Jacob's Ladder stitch. And it's really easy. It's not like a weird thing that you have to do. It's just chaining and slip stitching in there. And it comes together really nice. And a lot of the patterns that I've seen that use it have multiple rows of it and stuff, or like have them like intertwining and stuff. But I just kind of wanted one accent chain link along the side. So yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out. And I also um I like using the yarn over slip stitch and crochet because you get these really cool like ribbing, and I think they look like knit stitches kind of, which I love that look. So yeah, that was just the Jacob's Ladder stitch. So it looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. It's not complicated. But I love your cable on your scarf. And so I'm not quite to the knitting level to do, I haven't tried cables yet because they do look super intimidating to me. But how did, like, do you have to use is it a cable needle?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here it is. This is mine.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so for cables in knitting, you literally move some of the stitches off your needle and pull them to the side and knit other stitches first, and then move the set back. So the columns of knit stitches are actually crossing over each other, which definitely sounds and looks intimidating. It is not. Like, once you know your basic knit and purl stitch, learning cables is so much easier.
Yeah. I'm working on my very first knit sweater right now. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting because it's something I've wanted to do that for years. Like, that's been like a long-term goal. It was for years, like one of those things of, oh, I want to learn to knit, like eventually. And then I finally did, and it took me forever to get purling right. I finally found a method that works for me. I'm a continental knitter, and I learned that I'm actually a Norwegian style knitter. And so I do like the Norwegian purl, and that just like really clicked with my brain. I don't know, the purl that I tried before, couldn't get it and stuff. So when I eventually got the purling done, that's when I started like actually picking up the speed of my knitting. Like, that's what I want to tell people too who are new to either knitting or crochet, is like, you just stick with it for just a little bit, practice, and I promise, like, once you start to see yourself improve and actually make progress, then you're like hooked, you're in. Oh, no pun intended.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, both knitting and crochet, it's a very, very steep learning curve, but it's also a very, very short learning curve.
Yeah.
Because whichever one you're picking up, you have to learn how to hold the yarn and manipulate the yarn, and hold the tool and manipulate the tool and see the stitches.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, and it all has to come together. And then once you get that, everything else is like trivial to pick up. Like, with knitting, once you know the knit stitch and the purl stitch, you've put in like 80% of the effort of any knitwear learning you'll do for the rest of your life. Like, color work is easy to pick up, lace is easy to pick up, cables are easy to pick up. And then in crochet, it's like, once you can do whatever stitch you pick up first, whether it's like single crochet or if you're doing granny squares or double crochet, learning where to put the hook and how to wrap the yarn is so hard. And then once you can do that and you're not thinking about it anymore, anything else you want to pick up, baubles or post stitches or mosaic or tapestry, like, is so much easier than that first stitch or two.
Yeah, yeah. I always joke that knitting to me, because I coming from a crochet background, coming to knitting, I was always like, knitting is like the wild, wild west because there's like no, it's like whatever. There's so many methods
Yeah.
to accomplish the same thing, and like my autistic brain, like black and white thinking and stuff is just
Which
like it
way is
was
the
hard.
correct one, though?
Yeah, exactly. Like which is the correct one? And because with crochet, like knitting, there's so many different ways to hold your needles. And there's continental style and English style, and then variations within those two. Whereas like crochet, it's either you hold it like a knife or
Yeah.
you hold it like a pencil. Like that, like there's only
Yep.
two.
And I
And I
think,
think, yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I think that's why I was so intimidated by knitting for so long and why it took me so long to like learn is because I
Yeah.
was like, I need direction. Just give me the one. My autistic brain was just like, I need one thing here.
And then I think whichever one you pick up first, the second one is usually easier because you already have at least a little bit of understanding of how you like to hold the yarn.
Yes.
And you can, like, I hold the yarn identically, whether I am knitting or crocheting now.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of figuring out how to manipulate the tool around the way you're already holding the yarn.
Yep. Just like creating that muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also it takes, if you already learn one, it's so much easier to learn the second because you've already learned how to like read patterns and the lingo.
Yeah, patterns are an
And
entirely new language you have to learn on top of everything.
yes. Yeah. Oh, did you see Tony Lipsy from TL Yarn Crafts? I love her. But she came out with a video last weekend all about how to read crochet patterns.
Ooh.
Um, and I think it would be beneficial even for beginner knitters. So even if you don't crochet, I think it would be helpful because crochet and knitting patterns are set up basically the same kind of way. I mean, they start out with an introduction, what kind of materials you'll need, defining special stitches, abbreviations, any pattern notes and stuff. So, yeah, it's a great video. I watched it and it was fantastic. I was like, man, I wish this was around when I started learning. Of course, when I learned how to crochet, I was 8. So YouTube, I don't, wait, was YouTube even a thing back then?
YouTube
Let's see.
became a thing. I think when I was in high school. I know the inciting incident, and it was the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake Super Bowl.
Yes.
Because something happened during that halftime that
Yep.
the creator of YouTube was trying to find a video of and couldn't. And he was like, there needs to be a central place for videos on the internet. And that led to YouTube being created.
Yep.
But
So yeah, so
I don't remember what year that was.
yeah, so I was, yeah, YouTube wasn't a thing when I was 8. So aging myself here, but yeah, that's the biggest thing too. I think that's helped crafters start crafts is the YouTube tutorials, especially for visual learners like myself. I sometimes I'll read a pattern and I'll be like, I don't know what they're wanting me to do. But then I watch the video tutorial. I'm like, oh, that's so easy. That makes so much sense. So that's why I'm always really big in doing tutorial videos with my patterns. I'll always have them just because I'm a visual person and I just need to see it at least once and then I've got it.
Yeah.
I just work so much better with examples. So, yeah, I think YouTube has been really instrumental and essential to the craft movement and craftivism just in general because we're able to connect with people like this, like the Unfree Make Along. We're able to connect with people that across the world that we wouldn't normally be able to connect with. So
Yeah, especially I live in a extremely red area, and sometimes I'm like, my
Yeah.
husband and I are the only ones who think this way, and it's been nice having the internet to remind ourselves that no, we're not alone. There are
Yeah.
lots of people out there.
I, I live in, so for those of you who don't know, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and which is a very blue city. It's lovely. I love it here. I absolutely adore Asheville. Um, but when you get outside of Asheville just a little bit, it turns very, very different. And I'm always like, oh man, I'm ready to get back to Asheville whenever we like drive to Charlotte or something. I mean, Charlotte's
Oh
great
yeah.
and stuff, but the drive there is always like, yeah, I'm ready to get back to Asheville. But yeah, it's just it's great to connect with other people around the world. Like in our NeuroStitches community, we have members who are from they're in the UK and Europe and stuff, and it is just really really cool to have this shared experience of being like neurodivergent and stuff, and also to learn from others about what their systems are and what works for them and stuff, and what doesn't work for them. Like learning about how autism assessments are done in the UK versus the US and stuff. It's really interesting, and that's a perspective that I wouldn't know about if we if this group didn't exist and we didn't connect over the internet. So I think that's also just a great part of intersectionality too, is learning from others what works and what doesn't. And it's important to have that other perspective.
For sure. And yeah, the internet is great for that, and
Yeah.
letting you meet people whose experiences are very, very different from your own.
Yep. And also like a lot of people, there's a lot of neurodivergent people out there who um have come to the realization like, wow, I relate to this autistic creator a lot. Like maybe I should go get an assessment done or something. And so it's just it's fascinating how much that can help people and stuff, because getting diagnosed, or because they call it late diagnosed or late realization, um, is such an important tool, because I mean my life has improved significantly since getting my diagnosis. I mean, it's not been perfect. There's been ups and downs and stuff, but it's allowed me to find tools that help me and stuff. And those are things that I wouldn't have been aware of had I not connected with other people who share a similar experience. So that's I love talking about intersectionality and how important it is to include different perspectives and stuff.
Yeah, I have been trying to get myself to schedule an ADHD assessment for like a month.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'm like, all right, these these creators' experiences are extremely close
Yeah.
to how I grew up, and I certainly suspect at this point
Yeah.
that an ADHD assessment would come back positive. And yeah, I was just told as a kid that I liked to keep busy,
Yep.
and that was normal.
Yep.
And now looking back on it, I'm like, I don't think it was. I had a sticky note on my desk that said "sit still," that I was told would come off when I could follow it, and it never came off.
See, and what's so funny is I used to joke because I had a family member who had ADHD, but presented in more of the typical way that we like society has stereotyped ADHD of, not being able to sit still and yeah,
Hyperactivity, forward.
yeah. And so I even used to joke with my family member. I was like, whatever ADHD is, I have the opposite because I can't, I will be so focused in on something that I'll forget to eat and drink and use the restroom. And then, like hours later, I'm wondering why my blood sugar has crashed and I feel terrible. And is like, I used to joke about that. And that's actually a form that is ADHD,
Yep.
like textbook ADHD, but I had no idea that how that was a possibility. So it's just so funny because I used to joke about that, having the opposite of it. And it's like, nope, I do. That's why stereotypes are so important to break down because it literally will save lives if someone can be like, oh, that's my that's my experience too. There's actually a name for this. This is actually a thing that other people experience. I'm not weird. I'm not a freak. Like this is something that other people experience, which are all thoughts that I used to have. Like I used to think that there was something super wrong with me and everything and so that's why it's just so important, education, awareness, and breaking down those stereotypes. um yeah.
Yeah, this isn't something I can speak on super well because I haven't done a ton of research, but this is an example of intersectionality where, on average, women and girls with ADHD present very differently from the stereotypes because the stereotypes are focused on like middle class white boys, and similarly, like young Black and Hispanic kids, if they are presenting symptoms of ADHD, they're often just called troublemakers,
Yeah.
and it's sort of attributed to their race. And it's like, no, they are having the same struggles that these other kids are having, and they probably need the same support and solutions. And then yeah, it's like I think hyper focus. There's like a second word for the type of
Inattentive.
ADHD. Hmm?
I think, is it
Yeah,
inattentive?
inattentive
Yeah.
ADHD. It's like I believe on average inattentive ADHD is more common in girls, and then hyperactive ADHD and like mixed or blended ADHD, I think it's called, is also pretty common in boys. And we're not looking at those other presentations enough. We're not paying enough attention, especially in the US. At least, girls are often socialized to sit quietly and keep to themselves. And if you're sitting quietly and keeping to yourself to the point where you haven't eaten in 24 hours and you haven't gotten up to go to the bathroom, that might be a problem. And we need to like recognize that, oh no, this isn't just a little girl being quiet to herself. This is something happening that we need to support and find a workaround for.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all about bringing in that other perspective so we know that that's how that person experiences um, the world and can make adjustments to accommodate for that. Absolutely. And that's been a big problem too with, we're talking about ADHD and autism as well. The stereotypical autism is a cisgender, white, heterosexual male, young male too. Like that's the other thing is age comes into it as well with like autism and ADHD. People don't. There's something that happens. I don't know why people think that autism and ADHD just affect kids, but it's not, and it makes a difference with work, especially work, because and this is a huge thing, and I won't go into this rant, but I'll briefly touch on it. It's a huge importance to me, but 80%, the like most recent studies from a study in the UK, I have the link too, I can provide it. 80% of autistic adults are either unemployed or underemployed. And
Wow.
that is massive. That is a massive number of people. And it just goes to show, like, why is that? It's because, well, the rules that are made for the workplace are not including those disabled perspectives. So when policies and workplace rules are being made, if you don't have that other perspective of what it's like, then it's going to exclude a lot of people. Like, for example, I can sit and work for like 10 hours straight. But I have to like do nothing the very next day. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can be super, super productive in that time period, but I have to take the next day like off. And that doesn't work with a traditional Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 work shift. So it's just, again, going back to that, where it matters to have that other perspective in the place where decisions are being made.
And things like, if you need to get up and move around for periods of time, like if you're working in an office and your boss is getting on your case for not being at your desk, well, I'm getting my work done. I just need to stand up for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I've been told that before. Because I like work, when I was working a traditional attorney job, I work so much better at home. And I was told that I need to be in the office more for more FaceTime. It's like, I don't get anything done when I'm at the office because there's too much FaceTime. But
yeah, I get so distracted.
yeah.
I'm also very distracting. I have I'm very fidgety. And I try to keep to fidgets that are quiet and inobtrusive, but not always successful. I don't know if you can hear my dog right now. He is so okay. He's like, we say he oinks because there's no real way to describe the sound that he is making. But my neighbors are outside the window and he is like not happy that he can see people and he can't go up to them.
Oh yeah, I have Shar-Pei, which are guard dogs.
Yeah.
Like, they take it very seriously. So I definitely get that. They get like that every time the post office runs and the trash. It's like some big surprise every day. So yeah, no, I totally get that. But no, I can't hear him. That's
good.
Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
Good. Hopper, what a cute name.
We assume he was named after the dog from The Fox and the Hound, but we don't know that for sure.
Oh God, I haven't seen that movie.
It's sad. I don't recommend rewatching it.
No,
It makes me cry.
I was just about to say the only thing like I really remember from that movie is that it made me sob as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, now I don't watch anything. If there's I just learned about the site. God, I'm so aging myself. But I just learned about the site. Does the dog die or something?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I so wish I would have known that this website existed. Because I get so angry I can't watch it. If
there is a happy analog in video games, there's a website called Can You Pet the Dog? And whenever there's a dog in the video game, they let you know if there is a button that lets you pet the dog.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So I have a theory that there's anyone who is like a crocheter or knitter, they usually have a partner or spouse that's a gamer
Mm-hmm.
if they themselves are not a gamer, because I just keep seeing that everywhere. Like my husband, he does not knit or crochet, but he is a big gamer, and every single night, like our favorite evenings, any given evening, you can just find us sitting on our couch. He's playing Xbox. I've got Netflix on my laptop while I'm knitting or crocheting. And I've found that that is a lot of people's experience as well. So it's just so funny. We seem to find each other somehow.
Yeah, I do game, but my husband is a bigger gamer, and I love knitting and watching him play games, especially ones that I would probably not be willing to try playing myself, like
Yeah.
Elden Ring, or he really
Oh,
likes RTSs like StarCraft, and that's just not my genre of choice, but I love watching him play while
yeah.
I stitch.
I usually gauge what I think about his video games by the soundtrack.
Yep.
And so far, my favorite video game that he plays is Fallout. I
Yeah.
love I love the soundtrack to that. It's I really like it when he plays it around like the holidays because it's like a little bit got that like nostalgia kind of thing. So I'm always like, when he's like, I don't know what to play, I need a new game. I'm like, why don't you just play Fallout again
Yeah.
so I can listen to the soundtrack? Oh gosh. But that's like the extent of my knowledge. I mean, I had a Game Boy Color when I was little, and I played. My older sister had like the very first Nintendo iteration,
Mhm.
so I liked playing that. Um, but that's really like the one with the old like
Yep.
cassettes that were like this big. I played that one a lot, and my Game Boy. But other than that, um, I couldn't get into it. It didn't capture it didn't hold my attention the way reading did.
Yeah.
Um, I was just because that was my big thing when I was a kid was I was a bookworm. I loved reading. I could just like get lost in a book. Um, but yeah, gaming's one of those things like I'm like I want to be into it, but I don't know. There's just something that I can't like. I love the idea of Animal Crossing. I've heard like a lot of
That's a
people,
good one.
autistic people like that. Yeah, because it's like cozy and stuff. And I've tried. I probably should just give it a better try, but I find that I get bored. I hope that's not
Yeah.
a controversial
No.
opinion, but yeah.
Yeah, just move on quickly.
Yeah.
I am just about done with this repeat.
Ooh, awesome. And oh, I've got a question for you. What knitting needles are you using with the shawl? Because I'm looking at interchangeable needles sets and I can't make up my
So
mind.
I have Chowgu
Okay.
interchangeables. I got myself a Chowgu set when I finished grad school as like my celebration,
Uh-huh.
and I love them to the point where now every year I've bought a new set. So now it's like 5 years later, and I think I've got all of them essentially. I have the like standard 5-inch tips that I
Mm-hmm.
bought first, and then I bought the short tips that are like US 4 to US 8 after that, and then I bought the short tips that are like US 0 to US 3 after that, and then I bought the Tunisian hooks because those can use the same cables.
Yeah.
And then I just bought their newest set is like the short tips that are size 9 to 12 or something.
Okay.
So now I have like the entire range of short tips, which is great for socks and sweater sleeves and stuff. I've got the long tips, which are great for sweater bodies and shawls, and what I'm using right now. And I've got the Tunisian hooks.
Gotcha.
So they are definitely an investment. You know, they're not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can afford them, I think they are worth it, especially because once you have the tips, getting cables of different sizes is quite a bit cheaper.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you don't have to keep buying more like fixed circulars
Yep.
for every size thing you want to make.
Yep. And it's actually, and it's cheaper in the long run to get the set ahead of time. And so I was like, I need to try out a bunch of different kinds of needles before I settle on one. And I won an Addy Turbo Rocket in the Western North Carolina yarn crawl. Last year I won a fixed circular pair of the Addy Turbo Rockets, and I love them. They are awesome. But I've also heard really good things about ChiaoGoo. And the one thing though that I need to find, I haven't been able to try them out in person, are the Addy squared rocket.
Oh, yeah.
There's someone, Finch Mod. I follow her on Instagram and Blue Sky. She's awesome. But she, I think she like accidentally bought the squared ones and but then ended up loving them.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been raving about those lately. And I will say that is like an ergonomic, that is, I would like to try those out before I settle on something. But the ChiaoGoos I've heard really good things about, and I need to get a pair just to try them out, because all that I've really tried is so Addy's, Knitter's Pride, and there's some bamboo ones that I think
Clover?
Brittany. Oh, Clover, yes, yeah. And because I started out with the bamboo and the wood ones when I first started knitting, and now that I've gotten more confidence and stuff, and I'm expanding into more projects, I've switched to metal, which has been great, because I was very hesitant to even try metal because I'm autistic and I have sensory sensitivities. I didn't know if I could handle the idea of like metal rubbing together and stuff. But yeah, I've since learned that it's not a problem for me. They're actually really soft, like if sound can be described as soft. But yeah, so I am gonna give ChiaoGoos a shot before I commit to the square ones, because I also want to try those, but I can't find them in any of the stores around here. They're all so I think I'm gonna have to order them online to try them out. But do you find that, do you switch your needle based on the project or like the type of yarn you're using?
No, I use I use my ChiaoGoo, nickel plated or whatever they are, tips for everything.
For everything, okay. Because I do that with crochet, and I didn't know if that translates over to knitting. Like if I'm working with a particularly like slippery yarn, I will use the like a bamboo or wooden hook over metal, especially with fingering weight yarn. I also find that that's hook choice makes a big difference for me with crochet if I'm using sock weight yarn. But and then this one, I'm using, my hook that I'm using on my shawl is just Furls resin. Yeah, it's really pretty, and it like matches, and I didn't even
Yeah,
realize
look
it
at that.
matched. I typically prefer metal hooks, but I do like the furls, like their ergonomic handle is really nice. So, and I have the metal furls hooks too. Those are very nice, but they are heavy,
Yeah.
very heavy. So
I
it's a trade-off.
have a set of Susan Bates hooks that I bought when I was like 11 and learning to crochet, and I've been slowly trying out, just nicer hooks now that I am an adult with
Yeah,
some income.
yeah.
And I really like, I have one lantern moon crochet hook that I like a lot, and furls is on my list of ones that I want to
Yeah,
try.
yeah. I furls, I really like their hooks. My only thing is I have really small hands.
Yeah.
I always joke like I have they're chunky but they're short. And so my one thing that I really wish furls would do is do a shorter hook because their hooks are long. Like this is a very long hook. And I will say I like shorter crochet hooks. I find it's easier for me to control. So I hope I think I've even like suggested it to girls. I'm like, can you guys come out with the metal ones just like in a shorter size? But yeah, I like I I change my hook based off of the type of project, but I will say I find that probably my most used one are the tulip Etimo red because I like that they don't have a glare, which is also great for teaching and doing like tutorial videos. So like in all my tutorial videos, including the one for this shawl, I use the tulip Etimo red because I think it's easier on the eyes, like for people not be staring at like this glare. And then it's easier for people to see like hook placement with again the yarn. So you just can't use red yarn or else it'll blend in. But yeah. But yeah, it's I've been having a wonderful time with the make along and I've really enjoyed getting to see everybody's makes and connecting with people and meeting new people. That's been one of the great things is um I've made quite a few new friends since we've started the make along.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
But I think it's been about an hour if we want to wrap up.
Yeah. And let me just double check. No questions. Okay. I just want to make sure if there were any questions that we answered everyone's questions. But I thank you guys all for joining. We really appreciate it. We will post this video on YouTube, so you others can watch it as well. And if you haven't yet, pick up your Unfree Make Along, either the knit or crochet patterns, and help support the National Women's Law Center. And we really appreciate everyone's support so far. We've I'm not sure what the running total is right now, but we will be posting the donations and all of that stuff, the receipts to Blue Sky and Instagram come April 6th when the make along concludes. So yeah, I'll hand it off to you, Rachel. So thank you so much for including me and including a crochet version of the shawl. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. It's been very cool having the two different versions for everybody to make.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not too late. There's still 2 weeks left in the make along. You do not need to finish the pattern by the end to win some cool prizes and to meet some new people.
Yep. Absolutely. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll chat with you later. Thanks.
Bye. Have a good day, everyone.